I almost choked my chicken the other day. Click here to find out why.
Hey, podcast listener, you're about to discover insider tips, tricks, and secrets to making more sales and converting more prospects into customers with email marketing. For more information about the Email Marketing Podcast or the Autoresponder Guy, go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast.
Hey everybody, it's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guy, and it's time for episode 20 of the Email Marketing Podcast, where we talk about the top tips, tricks, and secrets for making more sales and growing your revenue with email marketing. Today, I'll be talking to Doberman Dan about why you should offend your prospects. Okay, so this is a bit counterintuitive. A lot of people get into email marketing and they think they have to win everyone over, and nothing could be further from the truth. You really want to do email marketing that's at least offending some people. Dan Kennedy's famous for saying that if you haven't offended someone by lunchtime, you're not really doing very good. You need to change something that you're doing. Point being is that you need to offend people, and you'll find out why in just a minute. We're also going to talk about Doberman Dan's oh shit realization that forced him to stop making excuses and start a business. Don't choke your chicken and other subject lines. And these are taken straight from Dan's recent email campaigns. He actually logs into his Aweber account and shares it. And he also talks about his poker face email strategy that gets people to click every time, because most people are giving away the cake. They're revealing their cards too soon, and it's hurting their click-through rates and their sales in the end as well, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, to get the show notes for this episode of the Email Marketing Podcast, go to dropdeadcopy.com/EP20. Now, before we get into the interview, I want to take just a quick minute to talk about a new segment I'm going to be doing. It's going to be basically listener questions. Very simple. You ask a question and I answer it. Now, last week I mentioned I created a survey and I sent it out. I've got a whole bunch of responses. Thanks to everyone who responded and helped me out with that. It was also a great example of how to survey people. So if you want to check that out, that's dropdeadcopy.com/help. Now, today's question, which I took straight from the survey, is: you can sound a little informal and even experienced because you're young. Could you share a little bit about your experience, marketing stuff you've done in the past and are doing right now? Now, I think that's a really good question, because I think when you listen to an interview, one of the first things you're thinking is, why the hell can I trust this guy? So let me talk a little bit about kind of where I've come from and what I've done. I'll try and keep this real quick. Back in 2011, I had an ebook. I was trying to sell it, and I had a commodity-based title. It was a book of recipes, and I called it a book of recipes, essentially. And then what I realized, it was for people who were trying to lose weight, and it wasn't making many sales. So I changed the name to Lose 10 Pounds in 2 Weeks. So it went from a commodity-based title, the commodity being the book, to a benefit-based title, which was Lose 10 Pounds in 2 Weeks. And this created a dramatic difference in sales. I noticed it immediately, and it really took off. It was, felt really, really, really good at the time. And what it also did is it made me notice what the power of words. And from that point on, I dove head on, right deep into copywriting. I started writing sales letters out by hand. I went to Gary Howard, read his newsletter. I was reading, Gary's got a list of books, which I'll link to in the show notes, about what to read if you want to learn about marketing. And so I kind of went over and over and over with that kind of stuff. Then I started doing work for people in my network who had businesses and needed someone to write copy for them. So I came in and did that. I kind of did good work, and they recommended me, and then I kind of did interviews on their podcast, and then when I did interviews with them, people would listen and go, wow, this guy sounds like he knows his stuff. I'm going to hire him too. So people would contact me, then I would do their work. So I went through kind of a good almost a year probably. Yeah, basically a year of doing sales letters, autoresponders, marketing consulting and coaching. So people would hire me for an hour, and I would help them create marketing solutions in their business. And so basically a year of that, and I was just working with clients. And then what happened though is I met someone. I live in northern Thailand, a place called Chiang Mai. Send me an email if you're in the area and you want to meet up for coffee. I'll tell you the best place in the area. Now, I met a guy up here, and he's a bit of a marketer too, and we decided to partner up on a new business. But one of the agreements is that neither of us works on anything outside of this new business. So that means I've shut down. I'm not doing any freelance copywriting anymore. No consulting. I've shut down the McIntyre method for the most part. I don't sell any other products. So that's kind of what's going on now. My days are mostly filled with writing sales copy, writing emails, learning more about this new business. We're in the supplement industry right now, and yeah, that's kind of what I do. That's a bit of background on the autoresponder guy, or John McIntyre, and kind of where I've come from and where I'm going. So I hope that gives you some background. If you have any questions, now if you want to ask a listener question, actually, you can ask it in the comments. Or what I've actually done is I've set up a new voicemail service. on dropdeadcopy.com. What that means is you can go to dropdeadcopy.com and there'll be on the right-hand side of the screen, there'll be a little button that you can click that will allow you to leave a voicemail message for me. You can ask a question, you can give a piece of feedback. You don't even have to leave your name and email address, though if you do, I'll probably send you an email and be able to thank you personally. So if you have a question and you want something specific, I'll answer it. I'm going to answer 1 or 2 questions a week. Go to dropdeadcopy.com, click the button. You don't even need an account for anything. You just need to click a few buttons, record it, and then it's done. So that's that. I hope I haven't been too long in the tooth there. But now, let's go get into the podcast and talk to Dan Doberman about why you should offend your prospects. It's John McIntyre here, the autoresponder guy. I'm here with Doberman Dan, a direct response entrepreneur and famous copywriter. He works in a variety of niches, but his specialty is the health market, which is the musclehead market, really. So all those guys in the gym you see trying to get bigger muscles. Now, today we're going to talk about email marketing the Doberman Dan way, which we don't have much of a plan for this yet, but we're going to start with something very relaxed, and we're going to see where it's going to take us. So hopefully this works out pretty well. How you going today, Dan?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, good to have you on, man. Now, before we get into the email stuff, just start by telling us a bit about yourself.
Well, where shall I start? I was born in Barberton, Ohio. There's really not much significance to that, except for a couple things. Most people from Barberton are told their entire life to never dream or aspire to more than middle-class status, because that's the best you'll ever achieve. And that was my indoctrination, lifelong indoctrination too. It also happened to be where a guy named Gary Halbert was born, which I know you know who he is, John. He's probably one of the most famous copywriters who ever lived. He passed away a few years ago. And he's got a great story about writing the most widely mailed sales letter in direct mail history. Whether or not that's true, none of us know, but he said it, so we believed him. I actually wound up becoming a cop for what I thought was going to be a passing through job. Did you know that or not?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, I moved to Dayton, Ohio, and I mean, this is how much thought was put into this. I was working in loss prevention at a department store, which is, the guys who walk around in plain clothes looking for shoplifters. And one of my cohorts says, "Hey, man, the city of Dayton's given a civil service test for police to be a police officer. And we're going down there to take it next week. You want to come?" That was the entire extent of my life/career planning. I was like, yeah, oh, okay, why not? And I figured, these guys will never hire me once they see my background, because I was pretty wild in high school.
Okay.
And let's say, I played in rock bands. So let's say I experimented with various substances. And so I thought, these guys will never hire me. And I'll be darned, they did hire me. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll do this gig for a while, maybe a couple years until I'm going to definitely moving on to something better, That turned into 11 years, actually. And of those, I guess 12 years. Of those 12 years, 3 of them were full-time cop, and the remaining 9 was full-time cop, part-time entrepreneur. But for those 9 years, every single entrepreneurial project I tried to get going was a miserable failure that lost me money. And then finally, I discovered direct response marketing through Dan Kennedy's magnetic marketing kit.
Okay. And
started a info business in the bodybuilding market with a self-published product. And it was the first business in 9 years that actually worked. And that a year later, that business grew and bought me my freedom from the police department. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I've been a serial direct response / online entrepreneur until February of last year. I sold my last remaining supplement business and then started doing client work. So most of my time has been as a direct response entrepreneur.
Yep. Okay, so you mentioned that on your blog that you kind of got your chops up doing writing copy for yourself, you as your own client, and then you kind of got rid of all that and started writing for clients. And then now you've kind of gone back in the other direction again, it sounds like.
Yeah, I did. I started, well, actually, while I still had the supplement business, I started publishing a newsletter called the Doberman Dan letter. And now I'm focusing more on that and, adding more products and services for my subscribers, as I like to call them, my Knights of the Round Table, because I actually call it my marketing Camelot. And so yeah, I've gone back and forth. I knew I wouldn't last too long just exclusively as a freelance copywriter. I've been pretty spoiled, being my own boss for all those years. And,
yep.
and the freelance copywriting thing is more akin to being employed, although you do have a lot more freedom. So, okay. I've done both, but most of my experience has been as a serial entrepreneur.
All right, cool. So now let's get into some of the email stuff. So tell me, first of all, what do you like about email? And then give us a bit of a background on how you used to be doing it.
Well, I started actually that first successful business I had morphed into a supplement business in the bodybuilding market. And so I was selling online back in 96, back in the wild, wild west days of the web, and doing internet marketing as early as 96, collecting emails and stuff like that. So I've been doing email marketing for a while.
And you were using it pretty heavily in this supplement business. Yeah.
In that first one, which I eventually wound up selling. And then I started a second one and a third one. The second one I started in 2004 after I'd been working with Gary Halbert for about a year and a half. So I had basically kind of ignored my projects to work with him on his stuff and his client work. And that ended abruptly, which also meant my income stream ended abruptly.
Yep.
And I had this oh shit revelation, like, wow, I need an income now. I just moved back to the States, recently married, new apartment, and all of a sudden my income drops to zero and, couldn't pay the rent. My back was against the wall. And that's how I launched that second supplement business. I'm like, let me go find something that's hot to sell. And it was launched exclusively online and through internet marketing. So I've experimented with a lot of different stuff.
Okay, so it sounds interesting. How are you using email specifically with this supplement business? What was working for you at the time?
Well, this second one, I kept much better records of what was working. And prior to 2007, every single time I tested this, I tested sending a short message, driving people to a website that had the sales pitch versus just putting the whole sales pitch in an email. And every single time putting the entire sales pitch with call to action and everything in an email, prior to 2007, always outpulled the other teaser message method.
Wow.
I do not know why, but for some reason, after 2007, it was vice versa. All of a sudden, the very short teaser message driving to a website with the entire sales message in terms of sales. I mean, that's all I care about. I mean, yes, we all measure different metrics, opens and click-through rates. To be honest with you, I really don't care about that. The only metric that should matter is the bottom line. So I opens, click-through rates, that was irrelevant to me. And I think most internet marketers, if they were smart, they would do the same thing. When I hear people bragging about their click-through rates and open rates, I think, well, I'm dealing with a rookie here. This guy doesn't know any better. So when I say what was working, I don't even remember open and click-through rates. All I remember is the bottom line, how much money I made. And so after 2007, the very short, basically almost blind teaser messages, very curiosity driven, driving to a website address is what pulled more sales. And when I say blind, just to define that, I mean, people getting that email message their reaction might be, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
And it may be completely related. Initially, it may appear to be completely unrelated to the product that I was selling, but it's just basically a way to get people curious to click the link.
Right.
And so for some reason, I don't know what happened in 2007 with the economy or in the world or, with the everybody's mental state, but that short teaser message was pulling more sales. And actually to this day I still occasionally do blog posts and send out messages to people who've signed up for my list at DobermanDan.com. To this day, I still use that technique, and it's still working better for me than putting the entire message in an email.
Okay. There's something really interesting there is I got a friend who's in the photography industry, basically using direct response, email stuff to do deals. They basically send out an offer for a photography product every week or so. And he was trying that. He was trying kind of like an email teaser. I think he was doing a few more than just, one line or two. It might be 200 words, which kind of directs him to the sales page. But he found that when he stopped doing that and started putting the entire sales letter, and this was as recent as this year, basically, he put the entire sales letter with all the HTML in there, so nice photos and colors and everything, and he got high conversions doing that, which to me just shows that it's going to vary from industry to industry depending on how sophisticated they are, how much marketing they've been exposed to. I think in a case like this, if they're subscribed, like maybe people in the supplement industry are subscribing to 5, 10, 20 lists, and they just want a quick teaser. They don't want a long email. Whereas photography people, maybe they only have 1 or 2 email lists, which means that they're not in such a hurry when they go through their email inbox.
It's very possible. It varies from business to business and market to market. So, people listening to this should test both approaches and probably continue to retest periodically. I mean, it was almost an incredibly drastic change for some reason in my supplement business. And, now with the current stuff I'm promoting, usually the only reason I'm sending out a message is to drive to a blog post. So, I'm really not, I'm not selling anything.
Right. There's no conversion that you can measure at the moment.
Yeah, I know people who put the entire blog post in an email, but I've just continued with a very short teaser messages. I mean, in some cases, it's been only one very short sentence in a link.
Give me some examples about kind of like what you do. Are you saying like, hey, John, I just found this really cool way, this steep, one weird, here's a classic, one weird technique, one weird trick to, losing 5 pounds of belly fat before next week.
Let me open my Aweber account and find a recent one I sent out. They're even more blind than that, what I'm presently doing.
Okay.
And I'll see if I can remember an example from my bodybuilding days from my supplement business. There was one I sent out recently that a couple friends of mine like kind of called me to task on. They thought it was extremely funny, but they were worried people were offended by it. I really don't care about offending people. In fact, I actually work very hard at offending certain people that I really don't want on my list, because just from life experience, my experience as a cop and, 18 years experience as an entrepreneur, there's a certain type of person that I don't want to deal with. And in most cases, it's monetary. Some cases it's because I just hate this type of person. But I've also found that, like the easily offended are really poor customers for me. That's been both in the bodybuilding market and now, now that really the only product I have right now is my newsletter. They've turned out to be really poor customers, and I know exactly what their beliefs are. So I deliberately say things that I know will offend that type of people to get them off the list. In fact, my autoresponder series, I recently redid it with the purpose of offending those people and getting them to unsubscribe from my list as soon as possible.
Right. I think that's a really important thing that most people have. It took me a long time to understand it. It takes a lot of people. Well, most people never really get there. It's kind of like when you polarize people with your marketing, it's really a good thing, not a bad thing. But it does mean that you're going to have to put up with emails from people sometimes, or unsubscribe messages when they're complaining about different things that you do, or your marketing strategy, and they critique it and all sorts of things like that. But since I've been doing that with my list, it's just paying off so much. So if anyone's listening to this and is wondering, should they start trying to piss people off? Should they stop worrying about it? The answer is yes.
I believe so. A lot of people were afraid to do it. Ben Settle is a good one for that.
Absolutely.
He deliberately tries to piss people off. In fact, he'll forward me his I call them whiner emails. The people who reply, I don't know why he's still personally getting these emails. I've told him he needs to stop doing that, either get a personal assistant or something, but he enjoys it. He enjoys it when he pisses people off and they reply, and then he forwards the funny ones over to me.
But he sends some of them back out to his list and makes fun of them. He's a funny guy.
Oh yeah. He uses them as fodder, for future newsletters. And, he's a great study for a lot of things, but he's very good at repelling certain people from his list. I can't find the message I recently sent out, but I'm almost positive the subject line was "Don't choke your chicken."
Okay.
And I wish I could find this in Aweber. It's not coming up. The body copy was something like, it was like really short, one sentence, completely almost nonsensical, blind.
Yep.
Like, I almost choked my chicken the other day, click here to find out why. And something like that. I don't remember, but, Glenn Livingston, who's a brilliant online marketer, and Terry Dean, same with him, a brilliant online marketer I really respect. They both emailed me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. But did you get a lot of bitch messages?" And my response was, "Well, I have no idea because I don't get those anymore. Those go to a personal assistant. I don't have time to deal with that stuff." But I imagine it offended a lot of people. And that was the purpose. And then it directed them to a blog post, which explained basically the sales technique that most people need to be employing in their business, the puppy dog close.
Yep.
Totally unrelated to the subject line in any way. But I told a story about how we recently got chickens, backyard chickens. And the reason we did is because the dude was doing a puppy dog close on people. He was like, "Hey, I'm not joking about this, John." His offer was, "We will let you rent our chickens for 2 weeks just to see if you like them. And if you like them, you can keep them." You had to pay a deposit and they bring you the coop and everything. Yep. And set it up, and I said, "Hey, just curious, man, how's business?" He says, "It's insane." He goes, "I was an archaeologist at the University of Florida, but this thing has taken off so much. This is my full-time gig." He's traveling all over Florida, dropping off these chickens for 2-week rentals.
Has he kind of stumbled upon this puppy dog close, or he's been reading marketing books?
No. That's the amazing thing. This guy is completely marketing ignorant. He's so clueless. I didn't tell him anything what I do for a living. Yeah. He's so clueless, but he's done this right. If anybody wants to see his offer, it's at The Fowl Side of Life. You got to use the word the, fowl, but fowl is spelled like chicken fowl, FOWL, The Fowl Side of Life. So I said, well, let me ask you this. And of all the chicken rentals you're doing, how many people return them after 2 weeks? And he said, not a single one. Wow. So I wrote a blog post about that. Listen, we've been talking about getting backyard chickens for probably 3 years, but what always held us back is we're ignorant. We didn't know, well, are they a pain in the butt to take care of? Are they going to be pooping all over the place? I mean, we didn't know. And the 2-week chicken rental was about as risk-free as you could get. So that's just an example of how I use something from my everyday life, wrote an almost blind, nonsensical teaser email to drive to a blog post. Now, back in the supplement business, when I was actually selling something, I was usually driving to a sales page, I'd still use the same technique. It'd be a blind message. Like one, I did a newsletter, almost an entire newsletter on this. I'd hired somebody to do my email marketing for me, and it didn't work out that good. The guy's a great copywriter and a good online marketer, but I took it back because I was just getting such much higher response doing it myself. We were selling digestive enzymes, and in his email, he said, he used a great subject line, this something like the secrets of the bodybuilding elite before steroids. Yep. And then the body copy was like, hey, you know, the famous bodybuilders of the 50s. And then he threw in some names there that they'd know. This was before steroids were used, and they had a secret that allowed them to make much faster gains. And he revealed the secret right in the email, which was digestive enzymes. And the thing just stunk up the room. And I took almost word for word what he wrote and just basically deleted the thing where he referred to enzymes. And we sold a ton of that product. With his email, we sold nothing, literally zero. And with my email, we sold a ton of it because it wasn't a hot selling product. And the reason was we basically revealed our cards in his email. And the only people who'd respond to that will be people who understand what digestive enzymes are, what they do, how they help bodybuilders. A teeny tiny percentage of the market even understands them. So they made a judgment based on ignorance because of his message giving away the secret. Mine was much more blind. I'd used the same copy. Hey, did you know the bodybuilders of the 50s, and then we named them, before steroids had a secret that allowed them to make faster muscle gains. I deleted all his stuff about digestive enzymes and just, put here, click here to discover the secret. Right. And, that's just kind of an example of how I used a blind email to sell something.
The key point there is I'm selling something like that right now, probiotics actually. And the interesting thing that I noticed there is when you send out an email and you say digestive enzyme and they haven't read the sales letter, it means all their objections to digestive enzymes haven't been dealt with yet. Whereas, so what you're doing is you're saying you take out the digestive enzymes, you send them the email without it and get them curious and excited to get them to watch, basically either watch a video or watch a sales letter or blog post or whatever. And the copy, before you even mention digestive enzymes, you've already dealt with all their objections. So by the time you mention digestive enzymes, there's kind of like a clear path to the sale after that. But a lot of people don't understand that. They kind of mention their product or their service way too early before they've really kind of positioned it properly. And that's why I see the real job of, copywriting is all the stuff that kind of builds up to that final moment when you pull the curtain back and you say, hey, here's the product.
You're absolutely right. It's a truth that I've verified over and over and over about copywriting in general, and especially about email marketing. Like, a good analogy is there was this guy on the police department I used to work with named Dana. Let's just call him Dana. I don't want to give his last name. He's probably dead by now.
Okay.
Retired and dead. But anyway, the dude was butt ugly. Tall, big beer belly, and not just a little ugly. He was pretty ugly. Yeah. A woman who'd look at him, most women, unless they're extremely intoxicated, would not find the dude attractive. But he had an incredible track record with picking up women in bars. And his technique was a numbers game. He just went up to woman after woman after woman after woman saying, hey, you want to go home with me? And of course, he was rejected and slapped by a majority of them, or, they walked away thinking he's an idiot. But he just did so many numbers. Eventually, he'd find the one who'd say, or who was drunk enough to say, oh, okay. Yep. And we were all amazed by that. But what works way better? I mean, you can play the numbers game in your email marketing like that, and you might get some results. What works way better is romance. instead of going up to a woman and saying, you want to sleep with me? It's kind of nicer to maybe introduce yourself and find out her name and go through the romance process a little better. And, that's what I'm always trying to do in my entire marketing process. And it all usually starts with the email.
Okay, fantastic. I think we're right on time here. I think that's a great note to end on, that people should be serenading and courting. Basically trying to, using the romance in their emails to try and get more customers. So let's...
Absolutely. And it builds a over time. You really want to build a relationship with your list and make them feel like they really know you personally. And that's an entire another subject. You do that with your email copy and whatever other copy you're using, so that they come when they come to expect your messages and look forward to them. And you've trained them for that. And now they feel like they're getting a message from a friend or an acquaintance rather than a sales pitch. So I'll leave you with that. We don't have time to go into details on how to do that.
We go on forever, man. All right, before we go, tell people where they can find you, hear more about you. I know you've got a list and a newsletter somewhere. So where's the best place for people to do all that stuff?
I've got a blog at DobermanDan.com. It's Doberman like the dog. DobermanDan.com. There's a couple hundred posts I've got up there. And it originally started out as somewhat of a kind of a personal journal / sharing marketing lessons blog. So there's some personal messages on there about my life, and there's a lot of marketing stuff on there. It's a good way for people to get acquainted with me. If they feel like they want more, I have what I call my marketing Camelot. If they go to the resources tab, they can learn more about that. It includes my newsletter every month, along with some monthly webinars, a membership site, some personal one-on-one time. Okay. But the blog posts are a good way for people to get acquainted with me.
Fantastic. Okay, great, man. Well, this has been really helpful. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to come and talk marketing.
Okay. But the blog posts are a good way for people to get acquainted with me.
Fantastic. Okay, great, man. Well, this has been really helpful. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to come and talk marketing with us.
Oh, thank you, John. I had a great time.
Cheers, Dad.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you want to discover more insider tips, tricks, and secrets about driving sales with email marketing, sign up for daily email tips from the autoresponder guy. Go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast. Sign up, confirm your email address, and I'll send you daily emails on how to improve your email marketing and make more sales via email. You'll find out why open rates don't matter and the 7-letter word that underlies all effective marketing and much more.